What is historical materialism? Historical materialism refers to the theory of social development and contradiction outlined in the historical writings of Marx and Engels, and, together with dialectical materialism, the theoretical core of Marxism. It is important to note that, and contrary to popular belief, no one text by either Marx or Engels is devoted exclusively to an exposition of historical materialism, but Marx's contribution to a critique of political economy, and the first volume of Capital, together with Engels' The Origin of the Family, Private Property and the State, can be regarded as the classic expositions of the theory of historical materialism. The basic premise of historical materialism is that human life is not determined by consciousness, but by its material and social conditions of existence. Thus, historical materialism asserts that all human history is the product of an antagonistic struggle between social classes and of the dialectic between the forces of production, or forms of ownership and control of industry and commerce, and the relations of production, or the social, legal and ideological forms that determine how classes with conflicting interests coexist within a given society. In this context, social development is ultimately determined by the growth of the productive forces, a process typified by the rise of large-scale industry during the British Industrial Revolution. This also implies that the rise of industry dislocates and destroys the social relations typical of the early stage of feudalism. Also, the relationship between lord and vassal, which implies both servility on the part of the vassal and obligations on the part of the lord, gives way to social relations based upon the exchange of labor power for a wage. When the productive forces of society come into conflict with the existing relations of production or property relations, a period of social revolutions ensues. From the vantage point of historical materialism, therefore, historical development can be described in terms of the emergence of a sequence of modes of production. Marx identifies a sequence of Asiatic, ancient, feudal, and bourgeois, or capitalist modes, which mark or punctuate the economic development of society. Each is described as having a specific form of social organization corresponding to the manner in which slaves, land, or industry are owned, and to the mode in which an economic surplus is extracted. In a slave society, a surplus is extracted by the direct exploitation of a servile class of men who are literally elements in production. In a capitalist society, the surplus takes the form of the surplus value produced by the wage laborer who has reproduced the cost of his wages, and then produces the surplus that is appropriated by the capitalist. The sequence of modes of production is assumed to end with the emergence of socialism and communism that will finally abolish private property and the existence of antagonistic classes. Finally, for Louis Althusser, historical materialism is a science established by the epistemological break it makes with political economy.